Welcome, everybody. We are now live. We're going to give folks a few minutes to get on before we get started. And I apologize in advance for this very corny intro music, but I figure this is Iowa. We feed the world with corn. So we're going to start it off this way. But welcome. Look forward to having you all join us this evening. Got a lot of great things to talk about, but we'll give it a few minutes to allow more folks to come on. Again, welcome. If you're just joining us, we are giving folks a few more minutes to pop on before we get the show started. We're really excited for you all to join us to talk about reform and the work that we're doing in this great state of Iowa. Awesome. If you're already on, I see Roxanne, Albana, Jennifer Olson. Good to see you. If you don't mind, tell them, shouting out where you're from. If you guys are in Des Moines or Cedar Rapids, Lorenz, Iowa, wherever you're joining us from, please go ahead and throw it in the chat.
Anything else you want to say about corn before we go? What?
Awesome. We got Jennifer from Wall Lake, Iowa. We got folks joining us from Houston and Illinois. Amber Ramirez, good to see you here from Des Moines. Joe Briscoe from Waterloo. I'm loving the representation already. So we're about 3 minutes after. We're going to give folks just a few more minutes before we get the show started. Got Ray Luna from Des Moines. Good to see you. Got a question about the job fair a couple of weeks ago. The turnout was awesome. We had over 200 people show up, over 12 businesses that were there willing and ready to make hires for our justice impacted individuals. We'll talk a little bit about that today, but really excited about the turnout that we had at the job fair. Alex, I am not going to be singing this song, brother. I appreciate it, though. Awesome. So it looks like we're getting close to 6:05. So let's go ahead and get the show rolling. We'll allow folks to keep coming in. So we can move to that first slide deck, please. And I'll get an opportunity to introduce myself and talk to you a little bit about what you'll be expecting to hear from Reform today. Number one, we want to welcome you all to our first ever Iowa Reformer Town Hall. This is a great opportunity for you guys to hear from us at the Reform team about the work that we're doing in this great state, the state that I choose to call home, and will for many years to come. But Reform is really excited about working in this state, a state that we've been doing some work in for the past 3 years. And we'll talk to you a little bit about that work. We'll talk to you about how you, as an individual, can join our Reform team and become a reformer, and what that means to be a reformer, and all the benefits that our justice system will have with the excitement behind this platform. So we can move to the next slide, please. To introduce myself, my name is Cam Middlebrooks, and I'm proud to be the Iowa State organizer Again, I'm from Des Moines, been here since I was about 3 years old, and got involved with advocacy at an early age. At a high school, I was nominated and elected to serve on the National Board of Directors for the NAACP, which I eventually served as a regional director for, being the youngest person ever to serve as a regional director for the association. Outside of my advocacy work, I spent time working for the Evelyn K. Davis Center and Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, Go Cyclones, in a capacity to really focus on assisting minority-owned small businesses and nonprofits not only get started, but succeed and thrive. Additionally, I've spent time as the chair of the Des Moines Civil Human Rights Commission, where I served as chair for 5 years, and most recently worked with the Community Foundation for Greater Des Moines. So really excited about the opportunity I have here with Reform to bring all those skill sets that I've obtained over the years to really push this legislation and the work that we want to do around altering and changing our supervision system. Just a little bit, in addition to that, I'm from Iowa for a few different reasons. Number one, I spent a lot of time at Adventureland when I was a kid, and my favorite ride was the Silly Silo. Sad that it's no longer there, but really excited about the new rides that they got. But if you're from Iowa and you got a favorite ride at Adventureland, go ahead and pop that in the chat so we can share some of that as well. You also know that I'm from Iowa because I know what a Made Right sandwich is. And for those who are not from Iowa, Made Right is a brand, fast food restaurants where they make loose meat sandwiches. But in Iowa, they're known as Made Rights. And then the last but not least, I'm from Iowa because I've met more presidential hopefuls than I care to remember. I know some of us are sad to see the first in the nation status leave. I am a little bit, but I'm also tired of the folks coming in and railroading the state every 4 years. It's getting started now on one side of the aisle as well, but really excited about the work that I've done previously in Iowa and super excited about joining the Reform team so I can continue some of that work under the auspice of Reform Alliance. To talk a little about Reform, we can move to the next slide. So Reform is a national organization working to transform probation and parole in America. There are nearly 4 million people on probation or parole, which is almost twice the number of people actually incarcerated. Instead of keeping people trapped in a revolving door from supervision to prison, we're working to move people from the justice system into stability. Now, our goal is for people on parole and probation to re-enter society with dignity, create meaningful pathways to work, and equip them with the tools to succeed, translating into families and communities that are safer and stronger. Now, a little bit about Reform by the numbers. We've passed 16 bills in 10 states over the past 3 years, creating new pathways for over 650,000 people to exit the system. But our work isn't limited to just legislation. We work at Reform to replace America's justice system with a restorative system that is fair, accountable, and invested in rehabilitation, support, and well-being. We want to get as many people out of the system as possible, but not just stop there. We want to make sure that they have jobs. We want to make sure that they have stability in their lives, and we want to make sure that they have wellness. In addition to Reform's legislative work, the organization is focused on creating job opportunities through our job fair program, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted a job fair, the third ever that Reform has hosted across the country in Des Moines, where we had over 200 individuals show up with over 10 businesses willing and ready to hire justice-impacted individuals. On top of that, we had a number of our community partners who assist folks that are justice impacted with work development and soft skills. Folks were actually able to come in, get their haircuts, get their nails done, get the makeup done. Even we had a men's closet, so guys can get suited and booted before they walked in to have that FaceTime with that potential employer. Really excited about the partnership with the Greater Des Moines Partnership on that. All of our businesses that showed up, from Hy-Vee to Rasmussen Group to AccuMold, and the number of community partners that were there, from reentry programs to organizations like the Evelyn K. Davis Center and Project Iowa. But we believe in partnering with community organizers, reentry groups, and local businesses to support this work. That's why over the past several years, we've started the Iowans United for Opportunity Coalition, led by Reform, but powered by a broad and bipartisan group of organizations and businesses supporting our work in the legislature and beyond. We truly believe in a grassroots approach. And when I think of grassroots, I really think about each and every single one of you, because it takes people power to make this boat continue to move. And to talk a little bit more about that, I'd like to introduce Darrell Frazier, who's our manager of membership and community engagement, who could talk a little bit more about what it means to be a reformer. Darrell, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Cam. I really appreciate the opportunity. Good evening, everyone. My name is Darrell Frazier, and I'm really excited about being here this evening. I have the absolute pleasure of serving as the manager of memberships and community engagement, which has been awesome. I had the opportunity to visit Iowa in the last couple of weeks, and I really enjoyed the food and the people. So we had a great time at the Iowa Job Fair as well. Just to give you an overview of the Membership and Community Engagement Department, our Department of Membership and Community Engagement works to mobilize our members to become advocates for criminal justice reform at every single level. Whether it's through our state campaigns or national campaigns, we're dedicated to helping our community of reformers make a meaningful impact on their local systems. Our areas of focus really revolve around just believing that community engagement is a critical component of the fight for criminal justice reform. We're committed to creating opportunities for our members to engage with one another and with their local communities so that we can build a strong, connected movement that is capable of achieving real change. What does it mean to be a reformer, you ask? The first steps to getting more involved to become a reformer is by joining to become a reformer, right? Super easy to sign up once you become a reformer. When you become a reformer, you aren't simply signing up to support a cause. You are joining a larger community of individuals who are passionate about criminal justice reform. In addition to the sense of camaraderie and connection that comes with being a part of a larger community, becoming a reformer can also be incredibly empowering. By working together with others, you can create real and lasting change to make a positive impact on the lives of others. Ultimately, being a reformer is about more than just advocating for a cause. It's about being a part of a community that is dedicated to a better world for all. Why become a reformer, you ask? One, you believe in second chances. Two, you have a desire for justice and fairness. Three, you have been personally impacted or know someone who have been impacted by the criminal justice system as well. And must I add that there are also benefits to becoming a part of our membership as well. We have access to two different memberships. You have access to BetterHelp, which is a mental health platform that provides online mental health services directly to consumers. The online counseling and therapy services are provided through web-based interaction, as well as phone and text communications. Reformers gets 3 months free access to licensed therapists. We also offer our Applied Digital Skills Training, which is a free online platform that offers a variety of interactive courses to help individuals develop their digital skills. The program covers a wide range of topics, from basic computer literacy to more advanced skills such as coding and data analytics. I want to kick it back over to Cam, and thank you all so much for joining us tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Darrell. And I got to say, man, Darrell did enjoy the food amongst the other teammates, man. We took him down to Django and Bubba's, had some really good eats, but really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to learn about why it's important to become a reformer. As Darrell said, if you believe in second chances, if you desire for a justice system that's more fair, if you've been personally impacted by the justice system, these are all great reasons for you to become a reformer. And not to mention the benefits from Bettership and the Applied Digital Skills Training are important not only for your wellness, but also to learn those skills to better position yourself for the next step in your employment. But as I mentioned earlier, we're about the work, and some of that work requires legislative action. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Aaron Haney, who is our national director of policy, to talk about the bill that we're actually running at the Capitol Hill right now in the state of Iowa. So please welcome Aaron Haney.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cam, and thanks, Darrell. Good evening, everyone. I wish I could see all your beautiful faces, but I'm imagining everybody out there and hoping y'all are having a good evening. I'm super excited to be able to talk about our policy and law department here at Reform. You heard from Cam, we've passed 16 bills in 10 states. That's a pathway to over 650,000 people to get out of this system that they're trapped in. legislation. But what does that mean, right? What type of legislation have those 16 bills been? What have we been doing in those 10 states? And how have we impacted those hundreds of thousands of lives? So I'm going to talk a little bit about what Policy and Law Department does generally. And then, as Cam noted, we're going to talk very specifically about the policy and law that we're working on in Iowa. So our Policy and Law Department advances reforms key policy objectives at the federal, state, and county level. I will say we are also broadening to do some international work as well, which we're extremely excited about. But really, anywhere that touches the criminal justice system, anywhere that touches supervision, reform wants to make sure that people who are directly impacted have a say in what those policies and what those laws look like. We leverage reform's organizing and storytelling capacity and work closely with the other departments that you've already heard from today. Our key goals at Policy and Law and Reform are: 1, supporting the reimagining of community supervision; 2, grounding the policies we advocate for in evidence-based practices; and 3, improving the lives of thousands through our legislation. And so in order to do that, we really evaluate all of our policies through our policy framework. And you can see up on the screen, we have essentially a pipeline from prison to freedom, right? And those define our 3 different buckets of work, our 3 different types of policies that we move through in order to impact thousands of lives in a positive way. So the very first one is moving people from incarceration or from cages into the community, right? So how do we get people who are incarcerated now back into the community safely? And so we identify opportunities to safely release people from incarceration in a manner that doesn't pose any risk to public safety, right? And so when we think about this, we often think about increasing pathways to release out of prisons. So that often looks like parole reform. It often looks like identifying certain groups of people who have very low risks of recidivism inside a prison and ensuring that they have a swift access to a pathway to release. So we look at youth parole, elder parole, medical parole. We also look at, experts in stopping the cycle on parole boards, right? So making sure that our parole boards have folks on them who understand really what it means to be on parole, what it means to get that second chance, and ensure that they're giving folks that consideration. So that's the first part of the work that we do. Then the second part is from ineffective and punitive supervision to smart and compassionate support, right? So once somebody is out of those cages, out of those prisons, and they're in the community, what does it mean to be on supervision, right? And in fact, the American Probation Parole Association uses an analogy. They talk about the difference between coaches and referees, right? Do we have a supervision system where it's just sort of a referee and they're just looking for people to step outside of that line and assess a punishment? Or can we have some sort of a supervision system where there's actually meaningful support and services, where folks are rooting for you to win when you're on supervision and when they are helping you get the resources that you need to do so? So for this second bucket of work, we really look at what the conditions and terms of supervision are, how we can make them evidence-based and supportive. So this involves things like looking at the length of supervision. There's a lot of evidence that shows that actually sort of counterintuitively for a lot of people, the longer that you have somebody on supervision, you actually start to get diminished returns, which means having somebody on supervision for like 10 years can actually increase recidivism. It destabilizes the community. It makes people feel hopeless. It's very hard for folks to plan. And you actually see an increase oftentimes in recidivism based on those long sentences. So what we've seen is that less is actually more. After about 2 years of supervision, you get those diminished returns. So ensuring that jurisdictions have evidence-based probation terms. We also look at conditions of supervision, right? So do the conditions and the terms that you have to abide by while you're on supervision, do those actually make sense? Are they individualized? Are they fair? Are they something that people even can abide by? All of those things. And then really, really important, and something that reform works quite a bit on, has to do with graduated sanctions. So a number of people incarcerated in prison are there not because they've committed a new crime, but because they have violated a condition of supervision, right? So something that wouldn't be illegal, but for the fact that they are on supervision. So missing an appointment with an officer or something like that can land you back in prison. And so graduated sanctions really place limits on what types of punishment you can receive for violating a condition of supervision. There are lots of other examples. The only one I'm going to touch on again in this bucket, and just because it relates very specifically to what we're doing in Iowa, is in addition to limiting the punishment, we also increase incentives for people who are under supervision, right? So in almost every other avenue of life, you have consequences and incentives, but the criminal justice system all too often is all stick, no carrot. So this is a way of incentivizing education and work and all kinds of activities that we know people are eager to engage in and that we know actually lower crime rates, lower recidivism, and are good all the way around, right? So that's a big part of what we do. This last bucket, so the third bucket of work that we do is moving people from supervision to wellness, right? So we've taken folks from inside the cell into the community. We've made sure that supervision is as supportive as possible. And then sort of what happens at that phase, right? What are we doing to actually move people into wellness? It's not enough to just move people out of the system. But as Cam and Darrell have mentioned, it's also incredibly important, what are people doing? Do they have a place to live? Are they able to use their talents in employment? Do they have the support that they need for their families? And so really looking more holistically at how we are supporting people who have obstacles as a result of having been incarcerated or having been on supervision. And so that's where a lot of our job fairs and information or events like that come in. We always work with community partners to craft public safety solutions that transform supervision culture and laws and provide pathways to work and well-being. So while this is our framework, I also want to say it's really important for me to emphasize that it is 100% dictated by what is happening on the ground. So by working with our community partners, and maybe most importantly, by working with people who are directly impacted, that's how we figure out exactly what the problem is and exactly which one of these solutions might be useful in that jurisdiction, right? So we are not a one state fits all type of organization. We are very much driven by what's occurring on the ground, which now brings us to our understanding of what's happening here in Iowa. So we can go to the next slide. So in working with folks on the ground in Iowa, what we sought to do is really try to understand what the problem was and then figure out what is a common sense bipartisan solution that we can all agree on, right? What's something that we can all get behind? What's something that has all ups and no downs? So in Iowa, right, probation is intended to support rehabilitation and keep our communities safe. But it can often become a web of confusing, ineffective, and destabilizing rules that make it difficult for folks to find their way out of the criminal justice system and achieve stability. So something that really was intended as a way out of incarceration or as an alternative to incarceration has unfortunately become a primary driver of it. Being on probation in Iowa lowers people's earning potential and job opportunities for decades. Nationally, about 2/3 of people on probation are estimated to make less than $20,000 a year. And this is in part because of the instability that probation can create. Even something as simple as missing a meeting with a supervision officer can land you back in jail or prison. So as we talked about with graduated sanctions and technical violations, not committing a new crime, but literally missing a curfew, missing an appointment with an officer, being around somebody else who has a record, all of those things can end up landing somebody on supervision back in jail or prison. And when this happens, it punishes the businesses where people are working. It certainly punishes the individual who's ending up back incarcerated. It also punishes the families, and it destabilizes and punishes the communities as well. So while all of this is going on, we also know that Iowa has a severe workforce crisis, with 32% of businesses reporting vacancies and the number of open jobs far exceeding the number of unemployed folks in Iowa. right? So we know that businesses are looking for talented workers. There are over 79,000 open jobs in the state, and there are 28,000 Iowans on probation. So doing something like incentivizing employment and making it easier for people on supervision to work rather than harder can not only benefit folks on supervision who are working really hard to make it, but can also benefit the businesses who are struggling to find talented individuals. Companies are hungry for talent, and it's a great opportunity to look at previously overlooked parts of the population that can be a great value add to the workforce, like people who have faced barriers to employment due to their involvement in the justice system. So this brings us to our legislation in Iowa, right? And a little bit more about Iowans United for Opportunity. So as Cam said, we began our work in Iowa about 3 years ago. And when we went into the state, we met with stakeholders. We had some ideas based on our research about what we thought might be going on based on the data. And of course, we were completely educated by people on the ground who told us, well, the data may look one way, but let us really tell you what's going on. We have a very big tent. So we talk to people on supervision, employers, prosecutors, defenders, Department of Corrections. And what we really want to understand is how this issue impacts all of us, right? We believe this issue touches everyone, that we are all impacted by it. And so how are we each impacted by it, and what can we do to contribute to the solution? So in 2023, we formed the coalition, Iowans United for Opportunity, that brought together groups across the state interested in working together on this. It's a bipartisan coalition of organizations, community leaders, and concerned Iowans. And for us, each legislative cycle presents a different opportunity to make progress on supervision in Iowa. And this session, we've been excited to pass workforce education and discharge credits for people on probation. So about our legislation, these are our goals for this session, and this is what we're going to be asking for you guys to help us with and support us on. The goal in 2023 is to reduce recidivism, increase success rates, and strengthen our workforce with evidence-based probation reforms. So lawmakers in Iowa have recently introduced this legislation to do just that through 3 types of credits: education credits, workforce credits, and discharge credits. House File 349 was introduced by House Judiciary Chair Steve Holt and House Public Safety Chair Phil Thompson. Senate Study Bill 1004 was introduced by Senate Judiciary Chair Brad Zahn. Reform is partnering with Iowans United for Opportunity to champion the bill and move it forward. And these are how those 3 types of credits work in the bill. Workforce credits to grow our workforce and boost employment means that you can get a 30-day reduction in your probation term for every 6 months that you work at least 30 hours a week. Education credits incentivize achievement and the gaining of new skills. So you can get a 90-day reduction in your probation term for completing a qualifying educational activity like earning a high school diploma, GED, BA, AA, or vocational or technical certificates. And then discharge credits is to reward good behavior and rehabilitation. You can get a 14-day reduction in your probation term for each month you remain in compliance with your conditions. The idea here is, again, we know that all of these things not only are good for the individual on supervision, but that they also reduce recidivism and increase public safety, right? These are things that have been proven to bring crime rates down, proven to result in lasting success in the community. So if we can actually make these things easier and incentivize them rather than make them harder with a ton of conditions, we can have much, much better results. And that's indeed what several states in the nation have done. And so Iowa would be joining the more than 20 states that have some type of credits like these, with impact projections that say that it would positively impact the lives of 55,000 Iowans on probation and save taxpayers over $82 million over 5 years. So I know that was a lot, but we're extremely excited about the legislation in Iowa. We think that this can make a huge difference, and we'd be happy to talk through any questions folks have or give any more information about it. I'm going to pass it right back over to Cam, who's going to talk a bit more about what we're doing and how you all can help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aaron. And I hope you out there can feel the energy and enthusiasm from my teammates and team members. We are really excited about this piece of legislation. I just want to repeat two numbers that Aaron just threw out, right? If this legislation passes, over 55,000 Iowans will be positively impacted, right? The second number I want to throw out is 82 million. That's $82 million we can save over with this legislation, right? So not only are we impacting Iowans, we're saving the state money. We're doing this in a smart way. We're super excited about the progress that we've made. The momentum has been tremendous so far this year. Just 2 weeks ago, actually on the same day that we held our job fair, the Iowa House's Public Safety Committee passed this bill out of the Public Safety Committee with a unanimous and bipartisan vote. That's 21-0, which is a huge win and shows tremendous progress that we've been making in this state over the past 3 years. That just puts us one step closer to reforming the probation system here in Iowa. And getting a bipartisan endorsement by the committee is also huge and great news, right? As folks that are paying attention to Capitol Hill, there's not a whole lot of bipartisanship that tends to happen, right? But we're showing forth that, this earned credits bill is a bipartisan way for us to be smart on crime and not dumb on punishment. So now the move is we have to move this bill to the entire House. We're preparing for a full House vote here in the coming weeks. And this is the time where we're going to ask you to take action, right? The momentum is on our side, but critical legislative deadlines are approaching. So we need each and every single one of you to visit, to talk to your lawmakers, to tell them to take action on this bill. And it's very simple. We have, you can use our easy one-click email form to reach out to your House members and tell them not only to hold the vote, but to vote yes on this bill. This email is pre-filled to tell them that you support smart, effective improvements to our Iowa's probation system. You can edit the email or just you can edit the email copy or just send it as is. But the important thing is that you tell them that they need to hold this vote and that they need to vote yes on this bill, because not only will it positively impact our criminal justice system, but we got 55,000 people out there that are waiting for positive impacts in their lives. And again, $82 million worth of savings to our community. But I know we threw a whole lot at you, so we definitely want to take time and make space for questions. So this is an opportunity now for you guys to go into the chat, pop in your questions. We'll bring Darrell and Aaron back to the main stage. And as questions pop in, I'll read them off, and whoever is best suited to answer those questions will get them out. While we are waiting for some questions to pop in, Aaron and Darrell, can you just tell us your personal why? Why join Reform? Why work so hard? And why are you in this line of work?
Absolutely. I can kick us off. So I have been with Reform Alliance for almost a year now, and it has been such a phenomenal opportunity to not only be able to do such impactful work, but it's also a part of my own purpose. It's a part of the reason why I get up every single day and I work so hard to really create change. I'm directly impacted myself. I've been through the system, through the juvenile justice system and through the adult system. And through my experience, we all know how our injustice system really is. And so since I was a kid, watching the system impact my family for generations, my dad, my older brothers, cousins, so many people in my community, I begin to realize that there is an opportunity for us to create change. A lot of people become discouraged. A lot of people think that there isn't an opportunity for them to really be impactful on the local level, the state level, the federal level, etc. But we all have a voice. And so when we utilize our voice, it's an opportunity for us to amplify our message, our stories, which can be super impactful and inspiring. And so that is my reason why. That's why I show up. That's why I'm here today. And that's why I'm looking so forward to working with all of you. So thank you. Thank you again for that opportunity.
That's
Thanks,
incredible. Yeah, I'll be fast. I mean, a lot of the reason why I'm here is because of folks like Darrell, right? The reason he just gave. I mean, and I feel incredibly honored to do this work, but I grew up in a family where not only were folks impacted, but my dad worked with people in prison. So I grew up going in and out of prisons before I can remember. That was the first job I ever had, was working with people in prison. And then for a little over 10 years, I represented people on death row. And so I worked with folks who literally woke up every day under a sign that said, instead condemned to die, and fought like hell to try to prevent that from happening. I think that we see a lot of injustices sort of on the margins of the system, right? So the things that are considered the worst punishment, like the death penalty, but also the things that we often don't even think about, right? We don't think about the fact that there are millions of people trapped in a supervision system, right? And we often, I think, take that for granted, even defense attorneys. And so really being able to amplify the voices of people going through this, and being able to help them, hear their voices echoed in the text of the laws that are passed, make sure that they are actually leading the movement in the legislature, and that I'm there just to support with policy and law backup, has really been just incredibly fulfilling, and really couldn't ask for anything more other than to get this bill passed. So hopefully we're going to talk a little bit more about that with these questions.
Hey, you know what, Aaron, that actually puts us into this to a really great question. If it passes, how long before it goes into effect?
Great question. Oh my God. Yeah. And I see some great ones passing up. So that is an excellent question. And it's interesting because that was actually the subject of some negotiation. So because there are a couple of proposals in Iowa that folks are interested in the outcomes of, right? So one of those being sort of the restructuring of the judicial districts and bringing that sort of all under the umbrella. So consolidating some of that under the governor's proposal. There were some concerns that rushing this would be a problem. And so what we've done is at this point, at least, we've committed to spending a year, making sure that we can get the credits up and running, that we can figure out the eligibility issues, which I know there are some questions about, which we're going to address, and really make sure that everything's going to go smoothly so that the credits are not illusory, but that people really get those credits and see the benefits of them. So what we expect is that we will be working on it to implement it within that first year. And within a year of it passing, it will have to go into effect, meaning people will have to get those credits.
Awesome. Thanks for that question. Thanks for that answer. The next question we have from Alex, y'all, is how do you join the coalition? So that's an awesome question because it takes our coalition partners to do this work, right? The easy answer, number one, the first thing I need you to do is go to IowansUnited.com and click the Take Action button, right? We'll be able to grab some of your information there. But if you have a nonprofit, an organization, a small business, a corporation that you think would be interested in this work, have them reach out to me directly. And I'm going to throw my my email here in the chat, but it's Cameron@reformalliance.com. Again, number one, go to IowansUnited.com, take action. But if you got an organization, a nonprofit, a corporation, a small business, somebody who's willing and ready to jump on board, have them reach out to me directly at Cameron@reformalliance.com. Appreciate that question. The next one we have is from Charles Clayton. His question is, how are some of the legislators helping with the bill? How can we help put pressure on it to help it pass? So I'll start with that. I mean, I think we're really excited about the bipartisan support that we've had from the legislature. As we mentioned on the House side, it was introduced by Representative Holt and Representative Chapman. But in addition to that, we've had some Democratic leadership with Representative Jerome Amos, who was on the subcommittee that really helped push this through. I think folks are coming to this from different perspectives. Some see the workforce component, some see the human or the moral component, but we're just really happy and excited that they're in the same boat with us. How can you help us put pressure on it? Go to IowansUnited.com and select Take Action. We need to get emails out to our legislators to make sure that they bring this for a full vote in the House. And then once that happens, we can then turn our focus over to the Senate so we can see this pass through in this cycle. But get the word out. Tell your friends and family to talk to their friends and family, to talk to their state representatives and their senators, to tell them that you support this bill and why you support this bill. Awesome. Next question we have from Nancy Miller is, will any types of incarcerated individuals be excluded from the proposed legislation? It's a really great question. I'm going to throw it to Aaron on that one.
Nancy, great question. And it's interesting for all of our 16 bills in 10 different states. This is one of those questions that always comes up. So I want to just first say that, Reform is really committed to making changes that impact as many people as possible. We also think that when it comes to incentives, it's actually most important, right, to incentivize and reduce recidivism, even among folks who have serious offenses, right? Those are often the offenses offenses that we are most worried about occurring again. And so those are really, if we can reach those folks and those types of offenses and prevent recidivism there, that makes such a huge impact. So we fight really, really hard to make it impact everyone. Our primary focus is always public safety. So we do recognize that sort of as the bill goes through negotiations, there certainly are chances and discussions where certain groups of folks may be excluded. But at this point, we are fighting very, very hard to keep this open to everyone at this point. We'll continue to fight for that. But I do want to acknowledge, I know that that's something that comes up with almost all of these bills. And so thank you for raising that here.
Awesome. And before we get to our next question, I just wanted to highlight, this is a comment from Doris Kelly. If we can get her chat up there. Doris Kelly, as a former chair of the Iowa Board of Parole, everything you have shared is excellent. Doris, thank you so much. That means that we're just doing our job, right? And this, I think, also speaks to the impact of becoming a reformer. It's not just for folks that are justice impacted, but it's for people that touch the justice system. And we need your voice screaming to high heaven, which you just said here today, because this is, again, being smart on crime, being smart on our communities, make sure we have safe communities, stronger families, and stronger communities. So thank you for joining us, and definitely wanted to give you a shout out. But the next question will go to Abraham Lopez. While individuals are going through the reentry process, how do they deal with employment discrimination? It's a great question. Aaron, do you want to start?
Sure, I can start there. I mean, that is a phenomenal question. So, we talked a little bit about job fairs, right? So one of the things that reform is doing is not only incentivizing folks on supervision to get employment, but as you pointed out, Abraham, sometimes that's not the issue, right? Sometimes the issue is the employers. People are unwilling to hire folks who are on supervision or who have records. So one of the things that reform is committed to doing is helping, educate companies and really uplifting companies that are making conscious decisions, not only to consider, but really to prioritize hiring people who are on supervision or who are what are sometimes called second chance hires, right? Folks with records. And so what we've been doing is partnering with companies at those job fairs. So when you go to those job fairs, these aren't companies that are just, potentially interested in finding someone. These are companies who have been selected specifically because they understand the value in hiring somebody who has a record or who is on supervision, and they want to be a part of that solution. So that's a lot of how we've done it, is through working with those companies and through bringing them together in places where they can meet with folks who are interested in taking those jobs. And Cam and Darrell, you guys may have additions to that.
Yeah, Darrell, go ahead, buddy.
Absolutely. We have opportunities for individuals. We had 3 different categories of reformers who join our membership. One is who are directly, indirectly impacting the general population. We tend to have a bunch of individuals who reach out to us for various different reasons, and we provide, additional support and also information pertaining to whether it's employment discrimination or to how kind of guide them through that situation. If this is you, definitely feel free to reach out to us and, provide us more in-depth information pertaining to that situation.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, I mean, we have a lot of, from our coalition's standpoint, right? We have a lot of partners that deal with this day in and day out that we can get you connected to. As I previously mentioned, I used to chair the Civil and Human Rights Department for the city of Des Moines. There are measures in place if you are feeling that you've been discriminated, that you can. That they will help support you, right? They will handle some of the legal expenses in that process, right? If you're outside of the Des Moines area, the Iowa Civil Rights Department has a process for you to file a discrimination claim as well. So the resources are out there. A lot of times they're not known, but that's one of the reasons why we have pulled together this coalition. We may not be the direct service provider that's going to help you, but I guarantee you we will be connected with a direct service provider that can help you with your situation, depending upon what that is. So again, this is another great reason why it's great to be a member of Reform, to be connected to those resources. And it's another reason why it's a great opportunity to join our coalition. So if you're out there and you're working specifically with issues such as this, we want you in the fold so we can make sure that we're getting the word out about your organization and how you can help support Iowans. The next question I'm going to bring up is from, I believe I'm pronouncing this right, Andrea. And I think I lost it. Okay, here we go. Yeah, Andreas, folks. Yep, thank you. So, how can someone who lives out of state, and I know she put a little quote in there later, help? How can someone who lives out of state but has a loved one incarcerated in Iowa and soon to be on parole? And I think she wants to know, how can she help? So this is a membership question, right, Darrell? Let's talk about how can membership be engaged in states outside of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is a multifaceted question. So part of it is definitely a membership component to that. So just to piggyback off of what Cam was stating earlier, is that once you become a reformer, we have a wide range of different community partners, resources, etc. If you are outside of the state but would love to get in contact with your loved one or be able to provide support or resources, this is something that we would love to hear about. We also collect stories. We talk to individuals who have family and friends and know individuals who have been impacted. And we tend to highlight that and also provide the additional support that they may need in order to navigate. As Cam stated, we aren't a direct service organization, but that does not stop us from being able to, engage and really be a partner as you are navigating throughout that process. Sorry. And so, just to also add is just to also add, sorry, tripping over my words, is that we also have a national community grant program that we just launched on Monday, February 27th. And we encourage, a lot of our organizations who provide direct services, businesses who provide opportunities, etc. And would love to get back to the community to apply. Applications are open through March the 17th. So if that is you, please, we encourage you to apply throughout that time frame.
Awesome. Thanks, Darrell. The next question I'm bringing up, and I think we got time for about one or two more questions, folks, but from Joyce Salas. As a nonprofit leader, is there also a community of practice available so we can work together to address these issues? And Aaron, I'll direct that to you first.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's such an important question. And one of the things that you've heard us say over and over again is that we don't do direct services, right? So part of what we do is hope to connect folks who are doing wonderful work on the ground and really providing a lot of the paths to wellness that are so necessary in reentry and beyond. So I think one of the things that's so great about joining the coalition or becoming a part of Reform is that connection, right? So at this stage, what we try to do is really facilitate those connections, figure out how folks who have those businesses on the ground, have those nonprofits who can provide services or help in some way, how we can uplift what you all are doing on the ground, how we can connect you to each other as well as those in need, and how we can best facilitate those. So I would say, joining and being very vocal about what you do and how you might be able to help. We would love to be able to connect folks to you and also uplift the great work that you're doing.
Awesome. Hey, truly appreciate all your guys' great questions to add to this conversation. It's been really exciting to not only be on this platform with my co-workers, Aaron and Darrell, but even more exciting to engage with each and every single one of you out here across the state and those who've joined us from outside of the state. If we can go in and throw back up the slide deck real quick, because we got to go back to these call to actions one more time, because a lot of people are asking, how can they get involved? Why should they get involved? Well, we know why you need to be involved. But again, how can you get involved? Darrell's hammered it home time and time again. You need to become a reformer because it's for you, your family, and for our friends out here. You can do that easily by texting reform to 81411. Again, text reform to 81411 to join us to become a reformer. Follow us on all of our social media outlets. It's real simple. We're at Reform, no matter where you go, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. We're on there. Join us. Join our social media live sessions. Obviously, this is the first town hall that we've done in Iowa. We'll be doing more of these across the state. Just last month, Aaron and I did a national call. So we're continuing to get the word out through our social media. And then share your knowledge of reform to your friends and family, right? It's important that the best voice is always, the best form of advertisement is always word of mouth, right? So when they hear it directly from you, it's going to be impactful. And then reach out to our lawmakers. As we said, right? It's, as we mentioned earlier, we need your help reaching out to lawmakers. You can use our easy one-click email form to send an email blast to members of the House. to encourage them to hold this vote for the full House and to vote yes on this bill. This email is already pre-filled to tell them that you support smart, effective improvements to Iowa's supervision system and to take action now. We want you guys to take action now. So when you leave here today, go to iowasunited.com, press that take action button. When you leave here today, hop on your phone, text reform to 81441. And again, if you're have an organization, a nonprofit, a small business, a corporation that would be interested in learning more about this work, we're always encouraging members to join our coalition. And again, you can direct those directly to me at Cameron@reformalliance.com. But again, I want to thank Darrell. I want to thank Aaron. I appreciate you guys joining me on our first ever Iowa Town Hall. I want to thank our support staff in the background. It took a lot of us to put this together. We have a really, really great team at Reform. I'm really excited about the momentum that we have in this Hawkeye State or Cyclone State, depending on who you're cheering for. But this is just the first step and first of many steps that we've taken in this state. And we're going to be in this for the long haul. This is not just a drop in, do the work for one bill and get out of here. This is an organization that truly believes in supporting the work of Iowans on the ground. That's why we brought together this coalition, Iowans United for Opportunity, not only to support the organizations that are already doing some awesome work in our communities, but to support smart and effective tactics that reform our probation parole system in a positive way. Again, if we pass this legislation, 55,000 Iowans will be positively impacted. We will save this state over $82 million. It's important. We have to do the work, but we can't do the work without you. So again, sign up to be a reformer. Go to iowasunited.com and take action today. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you again, Darrell, Aaron, the rest of the Reform team. And most importantly, thank each and every one of you for being here today. And thank you in advance for the action that you're going to take.